a hero till the end of the night.
I need a hero.
It's gotta be shaved and it's gotta be salty and it's gotta be creamy and light.
Soup? Soup? Seriously?
Welcome to Good Soup.
Welcome to Good
Starting off
Soup.
on a choppy note today. But
I know, it's okay. It is. Oh man, we both of us just got back from trips.
Yes. We spent a weekend away separately.
We did. And we each got back yesterday.
Yeah.
Monday. It'd be Monday the 8th night.
You okay there, champ?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I just.
What?
I am so my dad.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm so my mom.
I'm so my dad. It's just funny. Okay, so like I said, we both just got back from
I wonder if
traveling.
your dad and my mom would be friends because you and I
Probably
are such
not.
good
Oh my goodness. But so I was just in Naples, Florida for my aunt's 70th birthday.
Wow. Congrats, Myra.
I know, Myra, if you're listening, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
That's my dad's sister. So myself, my mom and dad, and Myra's son and daughter and niece from her husband's side of the family all came down to Naples to celebrate her birthday this last weekend. And she didn't know that me and Tristan is the other niece from the other side. She didn't know that we were coming. She also didn't know her kids were coming.
Oh, cool.
But when they got there, she said that she was wondering and assuming that like her kids would come, but she really was surprised because Tristan lives all the way in Texas. So that was a big travel, a lot of travel for her. But anyway, so we just, obviously I was spending a lot of time with family, this weekend. And I just realized how similar my dad and I are in all the ways, and how we have that thing where you can we're like the two people in the room that you can't really have a conversation with when we're in there because everything is just like raised eyebrows and like, oh, like him and I are having our own little side conversation off of whatever conversation is happening. We can have serious conversations for sure, but we both have a very similar type of humor.
You guys are kind of like buddies. In the
yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. We do. We like to joke around. We like to.
Your senses of humor are very similar.
Very, very similar. And I think the way that we move around in a room is very similar too. Like how we talk to people and how we interact with people, and I think our general dispositions are very similar, which I don't hate, and it was very interesting because my Aunt Myra was telling me how she never really felt like she fit in with her family, and all that whole group, like we are all very different, right? From like how we were raised to our ages to where we're from now, and even like our faith or sometimes like the political views. So like, I mean, it's just a broad spectrum. And I think you and I have said this a lot this last like year or so, but this idea of not everyone can be everything to you all the time. And I saw that, I feel like, played out in real time when I was with my family this weekend, of just like, it's okay to have this type of relationship with this person and this type of relationship with this person. Like, I think I've gotten caught in this trap of thinking that if I don't act consistently the same with every single person, then I am being disingenuous.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that redundant? Ingenuous? Ingenuine? Disingenuine?
I think disingenuous is a word.
Okay.
Disingenuine is not
Okay.
a word.
I just feel like dis and ingenuine are like, you don't need both.
I would agree, but I do think that it's correct.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Anyway, I had a belief that if I didn't act consistent across the board with everyone I knew in my life or didn't know in my life, then I could be considered a hypocrite, which I mean is always true anyway. So, you know, like this false idea that I could somehow prevent that. But I think just this, through some things that have been going on in my life and the way some thoughts are changing, like thought patterns and things that are changing in my heart, I just had a lot more security in feeling like I didn't have to be a certain way around everybody all the time. And I think that really helped me lean into the parts of the relationships that I really do enjoy, like with my dad, or like it freed me up to feel way more available to kind of disperse my energy in different ways and at different times. And then when I felt like I didn't have any more, I didn't feel guilty about just like stealing away to go to bed early or going to take a nap or whatever. And like, of course I heard about it a little bit, you know, of like, why are you tired all the time? But that's just kind of
sleep.
I know, like that's just kind of part of being with your family, you know, you kind of just whatever. But I don't know. I thought that was pretty cool to recognize that, because and I also am always usually really aware of everyone's feelings, and I never want to give more to one person and then not the other. Like I'm always trying to just emotionally manage everyone through my actions, and I just felt a lot of freedom from that this weekend, and it was a great weekend, and we had great weather, and we had a lot of great food, and I got a little sunburnt, which I'm a little sad about because I'm now aware that that's how you get skin cancer.
Yeah.
Like not the only way, but it's a big way you can.
It is the most common form of cancer.
I think like every time you get burnt, it increases your chances by a certain percent or something like that. And I've been burnt a lot in my life.
Same.
Physically and emotionally. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I did get a little burnt because my shoulders and my chest region haven't seen the light of day for months. You know?
For the record, they almost never do.
That's true.
Christine will wear a sweatshirt in the dead middle of summer.
I know.
Girl loves
why
a
do I
sweatshirt.
do that? And I wonder
don't
why.
know.
I wonder why my armpits smell. All the
I think
time.
you're very weird.
It's just so comfortable.
She just like
love
if she can do it at all without thinking she'll pass out, like she will keep her sweatshirt on. It'll be like 90 degrees, and she's like, "It's not that bad." It's like, girl, just take it off, and it's like she refuses.
Part of it also is like I just don't want to carry it around.
Then just don't wear it.
But then I get cold, and then I would rather be uncomfortably sweaty and hot than uncomfortably cold.
Cannot relate.
I know
I mean, I hate being cold, but I hate being hot, and
so I feel like the sauna is a good representation. Not that you like went panic mode, but
I'm afraid of panicking. So my fear of panicking usually keeps me from panicking. I think I don't know why that's so funny. This is a real thing that I experience as a human.
I'm so sorry. I know. It's ironic.
Well, I don't know. Like, you know, people are like, oh, fight, flight, or freeze. And like, don't know. I'm too scared of being any of them that I don't know which one to be. So I guess that means I'm a freeze. But like, I just like I genuinely like, I get so overwhelmed with like doing the correct thing in an emergency that like I think that it's like, so I think if I feel myself panicking, I'm like, that's what kills people is panic. And so it's like
just
like just immediate like breathing exercises.
It's funny though, because I can immediately tell when you're panicking in your eyes. Like immediately,
my face
I
is
know
a big tell for me.
It's just like, it's like, oh, She is
That
panicking.
concerns me because I don't know what that means. But
It's not. I don't think it's really that obvious, but I think it's just because I know you so well. I can just see, like, your eyes just change. I don't know.
like a frightened bird. Flipping for takeoff.
Oh my gosh!
I think that's what. Speaking of this weekend, I was telling Chris I was giving her a little preview.
Yes.
But my husband was in charge of this weekend basically, which is uncommon. Usually I'm the one planning things. And we, on a specific day of our trip, my husband was doing some plan shifting, which stresses me out.
Yeah.
But he was continually asking, like, are you okay? Are you stressed? And I'm like, no, I'm not stressed. But I'm wondering if maybe my eyes look stressed. If maybe I looked a little panicked.
Yeah, I don't know. But I also am very aware of situations that could potentially cause you to panic.
See, that's the emotional management that you're doing.
Right? I know.
You gotta stop that.
Okay, let me ask you though.
Okay.
What's the difference between being considerate of somebody's feelings and emotionally managing them?
I think considerate means taking into account what you believe other people are feeling. And emotional management means you take on the responsibility of correcting any negative feelings. And so I think you can be considerate without taking on that responsibility of being like, it's my job to...
How? Somebody tell me how.
Well, I mean, it's just...
Give me a chart. Give me symptoms.
This is not something that I'm speaking from as a place of knowing really well how to do it. I feel like I do it simply out of necessity because I cannot physically care for everyone in the way that I want to care for them.
Oh.
And so I have just out of pure exhaustion just had to be like...
Sorry, guys.
like do the... like the Hunger Games kiss thing,
yes.
where it's like, I can't help you. I'm so
dog.
sorry. Like, yeah. I just, my emotional tank
ever in your favor.
yes, is at full capacity. But I think like this was not something I was going to We've been talking a lot today about how much Chris has grown and just how much growth and maturity she's experienced in the last year, and it's really insane. She's on a journey.
Honestly, I feel like maybe in a little while
after it's ruminated for a while,
I think we should do a whole podcast on it.
Absolutely.
Or at least talk about it on the podcast, because I think I would love to share the story, because I do think it is it's a powerful testimony for me personally, and I think that it could possibly be for other people too.
So that's definitely something that to look forward to. But one thing that I think that you are working on, I genuinely don't know if this is something that you've like mastered or if it's still in progress.
Okay.
But I at least know that in the past you have not been great at accepting like negative emotions or experiences.
Oh my gosh.
And so
I am working on this so hard right now. Seriously, no, I literally, okay, I'm so sorry to cut you off right there,
no,
but
please do.
This is so pertinent because Evan and I joined a pickleball league. Yeah. Right? And we play every Wednesday night, and 2 weeks ago, neither of us were playing well. Like, we just weren't playing well. The weather was a little dicey, all that stuff. And both of us just descended into this like really bad negative mood space, and we were really disconnected like as a team and all that stuff. And I took it really personally, of course. But then we had this whole conversation about it afterwards, and I was telling him that I just don't do well leaving space for people to have negative emotions, and I don't do well for even letting myself have negative emotions. Like, I just don't. They make me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I know.
And they make me very uncomfortable, and they make me very uncomfortable to be around. But I think as part of all of this growth and stuff, that we're talking about, I am learning that just experiencing negative emotions is part of being human, And it can actually be a very useful thing. And like, there's a reason that like experiencing negative emotions is also part of the process, and it's not something that we have to try to diminish or, you know,
immediately resolve.
Yeah. Yes. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
And I think that the more you work on that, I think the better of a time you'll have.
Yes.
In not having to emotionally manage everyone. Because I think in the past, emotionally managing everyone in the room has consisted of, if anyone's feeling negatively, how can I put a stop to that?
Yes.
And I think when you're able to just rest with like, this person's not having a good time. Mm-hmm. I don't really have any control of that. Mm-hmm. Or they're upset about something. Mm-hmm. I can't help them. Mm-hmm. And leave it be.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. But I think that's part of, again, not assuming that responsibility of emotionally managing everyone. I think you can still be considerate. And if it's like, oh, this person looks lonely, I'm going to go talk to them. Right. Or like, this person hurt this other person by what they said, I'm going to go make sure they're okay. Mm-hmm. Like, that's being considerate. Right. That's being empathetic and reading a room. And I think you're gifted in all those areas. Mm-hmm. But it's not like, oh, I'm walking in the room and I'm the cruise captain here and I got to keep everybody on this emotional train rolling forward. And I feel like that's kind of how you walk into a lot of situations. Yes. Like, you're like, all right, let's all get on the same page here and roll forward.
I do appoint myself as the emotional captain of whoever I'm with. Mm-hmm. And I do feel like it's necessary, or it's, if I don't point out these emotional discrepancies, or if I don't point out these emotional, like, if I don't help someone sort this out right now in this moment, then like they're gonna go on and they're never, like, it's honestly almost a really prideful thing,
like a savior complex kind of.
Yeah, like, yeah, I am so emotionally intelligent that if you just tell me your problems, then I will help you. I will help you. I've gone.
Hey, Wade.
I was gonna say I've gone Russian Kermit. No. If I don't help you, then you're a lost cause, or like it's
not like you're thinking
fundamentally,
you're not thinking this belief through to its logical conclusion of like, because I'm saying this, I clearly believe that I am their only hope. Mm-hmm. And you may not actively think that, but you have to address your beliefs and be like, what is this really saying? What am I really saying? Mm-hmm. I'm saying that I believe that I can be their savior, and it's like, you can't do that. And so how can I amend this
I can bring them emotional enlightenment, which I think I think I can be used as a vessel to help people engage in their emotions, or help them understand their emotions maybe from an outside perspective. But to believe that I have it within me, whether it's the discernment or the understanding, or like to basically advise them and sort of believe that my advice is the way to go, even though I'm saying, like, disclaiming and saying, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm actually really like, actually I do though.
Have you seen those memes where it's like, I'm not one to judge, but, and then it shows pictures of like Judge Judy?
Yes. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And yeah, that's a really good point. I think you're right. I think just acknowledging that whatever, and I approach this from a faith perspective. So it's like, whether I do my part, quote unquote, or not, like, God is still gonna, like, God's ultimately the one who's gonna lead them to the conclusion, or nudge them to do the work, or whatever it is. And ultimately that person, they themselves, has to make that decision for themselves as well. So it's like, I feel like I am doing everyone a big favor by impressing upon them, like, do you know how important this is to focus on this and to learn, like, to sort this out, you know, like, but not really listening to like the Spirit, or not really listening to God, just on my own strength and my own experience, just kind of jumping in because I'm like, oh, I'm skilled at this. So it's like, maybe not so. But I think that was kind of part of the freedom of this weekend too, is releasing myself from some of that emotional management.
Mm-hmm. I think that's awesome.
Even of how others perceive me. Like,
well,
I'm really tired, so I'm going to nap for a long time. And I'm like, it's Myra's birthday, so I probably should be out at the pool with everybody and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I'm actually just really tired. And
I think that's another huge element of emotional management.
Yes.
And it actually kind of ties into what we were talking about first, which is the, like, you can never really understand every aspect of a situation to begin with.
Yes.
But it's like, you can never manage your image so perfectly in everyone that you know's mind that you always are in perfect condition, and like, you know that they don't know everything, so it's like, why yes the weight of having to worry about what everyone else is thinking is super heavy, and that's something that honestly that I'm struggling with right now, is just letting that go of like, so what if this person thinks I'm rude? Like, I don't want them to think I'm rude.
Right.
But I am spending all my time and energy trying to ensure that they don't think I'm rude. And it's like, they might think I'm rude anyway. Like, there's just certain people that you cannot please.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a hard one to let go. But it is part of that, like, I think, releasing of like, you can still be considerate, but also have boundaries.
Right.
And like, you're there to begin with. So clearly you care about your aunt to show up.
Yeah.
But it's like, I can still nap on this trip. Like, I don't have to prove that I care every second.
Exactly. And I think it's part of that mentality of like, my actions need to align with my words, which yes, I do want that in my life, but I've held myself up to this unrealistic expectation, and honestly have foolishly not relied on a secure connection. But like, I think I have operated under the belief that if my actions don't 100% of the time show my commitment, or show how much I value somebody, or show how much I'm willing to sacrifice for them, then it's not a genuine relationship, or they're going to feel not valued or not worth my time. Or it's like, oh, she came down here for my birthday. Yes. But now she's like sleeping for a couple hours this afternoon. And like, what is it? Because I have been very judgmental and critical of other people, like, quote unquote, doing that to me, when in reality, it's like, nobody can operate at that level all the time. And to expect someone to do that is very unfair and will leave the relationship exhausted. And to believe that you can perform that way is very unfair and unrealistic, and will leave you exhausted.
Right. It's a double-edged sword of like, you're accosting everyone else with this idea that like, you have to be performative 100% of the time, but you're also inflicting that upon yourself.
Yes.
Of like, I have to be performative then to be a person of my word.
Yeah.
And it's, like, nobody wins in that situation.
And you never truly get a sense of security from the other person, because you're the one always performing, quote unquote, and you're the one always kind of like looking over your shoulder, like, are you feeling loved? Is this enough? Am I doing, am I making you feel peaceful and good all the time? Which again is like that disregarding of negative emotions, as if negative emotions don't also help relationships.
Well, I think it feeds into that fearful idea that the presence of negative emotions means that the thing in itself isn't good, or the relationship isn't good, or the experience isn't good,
or I have done something to decrease the value of this, or like, I am not enough because I produced, quote unquote, a negative emotion, and if I just did it better or did it well enough, then I would never make anyone feel negatively ever.
Right. Which is impossible.
Impossible.
And
as I'm thinking about it too, is like, I think it's really hard if you are a person that does a lot of emotional management and people around you don't understand that that's what you're doing, and everyone around you just thinks that you're a really, really nice person.
Okay, this is a hot take, and because I think everybody thinks that they're this person.
Yeah.
and this is one of the fear cycles that I find myself getting into, is like nobody thinks that they're the life sucker, but some people really are the life suckers. And so it's like, what if I'm a life sucker and I don't know it? You know, because like there are just genuinely people who suck the life out of situations. And then it's like, well, what if that's you?
Right.
Because it's like not everybody can be nice, but everybody thinks they're nice. Anyway, that's a whole separate thing. This is what I worry about. I need to work on myself. Sorry. But like,
well, no, I think
wait. I was gonna say something and I forget what it was, but it's like, what were you saying? Can you cut this out? I'm sorry.
I was saying it's when everyone expects you to be okay. Yes.
Yeah. So like, I just think that there are people who assume those roles in a room, and everyone else benefits from that.
Yes.
And so it just kind of makes you blind, I think. This is the part that I think is just a little bit of a rude hot take, and I don't think it's necessarily right. But just as a person who
hot and spicy soup,
and again, I'm not saying like, oh, I'm just so great and I've done, but I do think that in some spaces I walk in and I'm like, how can I like whatever, and like people just don't get it. Like they just don't get that you are doing work, like you are physically and emotionally giving to a relationship, and they just are like lapping it up.
Yeah, because they're just receiving
the compassion fatigue is a real thing, guys. But but I feel like I have experienced in the last couple years specifically just sort of a like F you kind of, I'm tired of being the nice girl kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just because I tried so hard throughout my teenage years and my early 20s to be that person. Like I am going to be an emotional doorstop for every person I meet ever.
Yeah.
Like I am just going to let everyone cry on my shoulder and nobody's ever going to give me anything, and I am going to do that, and that is going to be my role in life.
Yeah.
Is to just be like, I used to think of myself, I want to be a support person. I just want to be a support person. Like that was what I wanted. That's what I prayed for. I prayed for God to make me a better support person, which I don't think is necessarily 100% bad. But now in my adulthood, I am like experiencing this like fed up kind of syndrome of just like, like
why am I not seen?
Right. I'm doing all these things. I'm emotionally managing this room and nobody sees me, and everyone is just coming to me and like, and it really comes down to just a lot of bitterness and like of like, oh, I'm giving, but I'm giving from a place of emotional superiority.
Yes.
And also like pride and not being rooted in God's generosity, but in I'm trying to prove something about myself.
Yes.
Which is toxic.
And when it's not reciprocated, like even though you go into it acknowledging that you're the person who doesn't need the reciprocation, it still over time chips away at you, because then you put yourself in a position where you begin to feel like you are putting so much effort into these relationships, and you're the one who's initiating, or you're the one who's always going, or you're the one who's like making it happen, or you're the one who's emotionally overseeing a room or a phone call or whatever it is. And instead of being somebody who is just present and being somebody who is just there and can hold space for whatever, it's like you go into these situations, at least for me, it's like I go into these situations with this really specific agenda of like, I'm going to show you mother trucker how much of a freaking Florence Nightingale I really am.
Really?
Like,
though?
and it's almost like this, like I'm kind of puffing myself up, and then I'm looking around to be praised for it, or to like, for people to like throw roses at my feet, or, you know, just shower me with this validation that then doesn't come around, because
and it's gross because that's not genuine like love or caring, and like and
I'm parading around like it's that,
and
because it like I think it genuinely does come from this desire to care well for people, but it just gets twisted a little bit, and then twisted a little bit, and then not holding space for your own needs or your own well-being then distorts how you care for other people. And then you just get caught in this like exhausting cycle of like, well, I've committed to this now, and this is how people know me. And like, if I start making boundaries now, people aren't going to think I'm as nice, or people aren't
I'm not going to be everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing is like, I feel like I wanted to be everyone's favorite. Like, I wanted to be everyone's go-to.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the one who fixed everybody's problems. And if you know me currently and you don't sense that from me, and you're like, Julia's actually not super friendly and I actually don't feel that way about her, good. That is progress for me. The fact that I have had to take a deep step back from a lot of things because I just was doing it for myself. I wasn't doing it out of pure intentions. And it's been a real struggle trying to get back to that of like, how do I honor this part of me that really does want to love people well?
Yeah.
Versus the part of me that just wants credit for it.
And what does it truly mean to love people well? Because in my definition of it, it's always be there, like physically be there whenever you possibly can. And it's always be willing to share anything with them. Like just share anything and everything. And then oh man, I forgot the third one. Never let them experience anything negative.
Yeah.
Never leave room for negative things to exist because...
you said something... This is switching gears just a tiny bit. I'm now just fully thinking about myself, which is okay. It's okay.
It's fine.
No, so Chris said something to me the other day. I forget what we were talking about, but I said something about how I tend to think of myself as an open book. I tend to think of myself as... Oh,
yeah, you were poloing me.
Being really open. No, this was like in person.
What?
This was, I think, after the last time we recorded. Let me finish telling you what it is, and maybe you'll remember.
Jamie, Turbo Man.
Turbo Man.
It's not going to translate because the alien sound doesn't come through, but it's so funny.
Yeah. Just hold on to that one, guys.
Yeah.
But so we were talking and I was like, I think of myself as an open book. I think of myself as really vulnerable, and like I just share everything with everybody, and I'm just talk, like just super open with all of my struggles. Yeah. And I honestly share too much. Like I share too much about my struggles. And you were like, Julia, I feel like I'm like prying things out of you as your best friend. I feel like I am prying things out of you.
Yeah.
And I don't have anything else to say about that, but I just think that's weird. Like, we can talk about self-perception another day. That's a whole other episode.
Oh my gosh.
Of like the difference between your own perception of yourself and the way you speak or the way that you actually are. But like, I really thought for until like 2 weeks, not that I'm not good at sharing. I'm cutting you off before you correct me, but like I think part of my like internal like thing is thinking like I can't ever talk about myself. Like it's not good for me to talk about myself because I already talk too much about myself. Okay. I feel that constantly. I talk way too much about myself all the time, and I'm constantly aware of that. And being that friend, being the supportive friend, means always keeping the conversation on you, never on me. And I feel like that has taken hold in me more than I thought it had in my actual like expression of myself. I think it's made me more critical of myself, but also like I do notice, I think it is hard for me to share. Like I think it's hard for me to just like start talking about something that I find interesting or exciting. Like if I'm just like with someone I like and I'm like, oh, I did this thing the other day. Like that's hard for me. Like I feel like I've made myself more awkward. I don't know how to talk.
I will say though, I did notice today in the car that when you got in the car, like we started talking and you just immediately started sharing about the license plate and the weekend and all that stuff. And I just thought this is like so cool because I felt like it was such a different cadence than we've had recently. I feel like it's because I've been sharing a buku books a lot.
Well, that's okay. We can totally cut this out.
No, but you've been so like supportive and so great about it. But I was like, it made me feel so happy that you just were like, oh, you know, and I was like, I love this.
Well, it wasn't like an active choice, but that today is a result of me being like, just open up a little bit more. Like, just, if you want to start talking about something, just start. Yeah. I'm not going to cry. Why am I so emotional? I'm on my period. That's what it is. But I do think the last year, just in our friendship, I do feel like that untrue thing in myself of like, to be supportive, you have to squish what you're wanting to talk about, and only like, and so I think because you've had so much more going, and this is not me blaming you at all. This is me again with this untrue belief that for me to be a good friend to you, my job is to not talk about myself. Right. And I think that I've struggled to come out of that a little bit, even though there's obviously space for that, like then and now, but especially now, like I feel like there's so much more space, like for me to just share and talk and bring, but I feel this like, man, this is like actual therapy. I have not talked about this, so good. But like I like have genuine trepidation of like when something comes up and it's like, well, they didn't ask me about that, and that's not really necessary. Like, I'm not gonna share that, you know, like I genuinely have struggled like against those things. That doesn't even sound like a real struggle. People are listening to this and like, you think that's a struggle. Oh my gosh. But no, but just like in relationships, I feel like I've struggled to be as open because my immediate thought is like, well, that's like not important to share and nobody's asking you about that, so like only share things that people ask you about, and like you don't need to talk about your day or like just something you're excited about. And I don't know where that comes from, or like even just sitting here thinking about like I have been fighting that in my relationship with Ian, even like it's I don't think our relationship was as good as it is now, and I think it was well, that sounds weird, like I'm not thinking of a specific time, but I think there was a period where I wasn't as open with him and our relationship wasn't as good. Yeah. And I think that I've had to fight against that habit of like, I just wasn't sharing with him or really with anybody. Yeah. And I think that I really did lean on you, and it kind of gave me this rush of like endorphins, because it's like I can share with someone, and then that kind of went away for a second. Yeah. And then I think that just confirmed an already present belief that what I have to say isn't important, and like people don't care to hear about what I'm because my role in people's life is to give, you know, like my role in people's life is to like, you know, be the support person. Yeah. And I think, again, I don't think that's a bad thing. And like, honestly, like I do really want that. Like I want to do that with a really pure heart and to give to people out of the love of them. But I don't think I knew how to do that when I committed to doing it. Like when I was like, this is how I'm going to be. Yeah. And I think I let it get to a really bitter place. And so I don't know. I've just been believing a lot of like lies about and like I can say that and it sounds so like stupid and like just believe it.
But it's like there's a reason people say it, because it's kind of true.
I just like, I feel like I've stunted my own emotional growth by trying to be really mature and trying to be really giving, and then it's like now it's like I almost don't know how to like be present in a relationship because I'm like I don't know how to like,
you don't know how to have space for yourself. Right. Like you don't know how to make room for yourself and the other person at the same time. Yeah. Because it's a both and thing, right?
Like I feel like I have to take one position or the other. Yes. And that's part of the reason why
very rigid.
I thrive. I don't want to say thrive because that makes it sound like, I don't know. I have a really close relationship with my mom. I love my mom so much. And I think one of the reasons why that is such a like safe place for me in my life is because like that's like one of the only relationships where I don't have to give anything. Right. Like I just receive from her and like she's just there for me. Like she just is like there for me, and it's such a peaceful like good feeling like to be with her because like I know that she doesn't expect anything from me. Yeah. And like I just don't feel that about hardly anybody in my life, actually, even if like I have wonderful supportive people in my life who aren't like expecting lots of things from me. It's a self-imposed thing.
But that hierarchy of that relationship is just different. Yeah. And it creates a different dynamic than you and I will ever be able to have just because of simply who she is to you.
Yes. And I'm really, really grateful for that. But it's just like, I don't know. Like I don't know who I am in a lot of ways, but in like relationships and friendships, I feel like I'm still definitely figuring out how to like be open and be vulnerable in that way of like, I'm just going to share with you. And it's one of those things that I like am waking up like recently, like this last like month and being like, when did this happen? Like, I feel like I used to be it used to be a lot easier for me. Yeah. And now I'm waking up, I'm almost 27 and it's like somewhere along the way, the doors to this castle started shutting.
Boredom up.
I don't know where that like started or where that came from.
What is this?
Game of Thrones?
No.
What?
Gosh dang it. That would have been so funny if I could remember the name of the freaking island. The thing in Frozen. Arendelle.
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 That sounds way better than Arendelle. That sounds like a city in Arizona.
Oh, Arendelle.
Yeah.
Arendelle.
It's Arendelle.
That's what I basically said.
You said Dale. Like Carbondale.
Arendelle. Anyway. Gosh dang it. That would have been so funny too.
I like honestly, Elsa and me, we got some similarities. No, okay. I genuinely like, this is one of the
I see.
So mysterious. That's what people, when they look at me, they're like, who's that mysterious lady?
So much responsibility hanging on my shoulders. Get away from me. I'm not lovable.
I'm too dangerous for you. Single touch could kill you.
Save yourself. Leave me here to die.
Oh my god.
Oh
okay,
my goodness.
But this is one of my like greatest struggles in life, is just worrying about what other people think of me. And like we've talked about this in our friendship, just like that people, they're like, a version of you exists in someone else's head, like in every person you've ever met, their head. And it's like, you will never have any control over managing that, other than like your behavior. But like, really,
but
like,
even with that, you can be the most well-meaning person.
I just want to know what you think of me.
Earth.
Listeners, write into our Instagram if you know me, or even if you're just listening. Tell me what you think of me. Yeah. Tell me what you think I should do with my life, and
DM us on Instagram.
Yeah. But no, like, I feel like my self-awareness is like zero.
No.
Like, I feel like anyway, we don't need to get into.
No, listen, I think if I
feel like I'm really self-aware, and then something like this happens, and then I'm like, I am a stranger living in a stranger's body.
That's life. That's life. That is life. That is the point. That is the process. That will never not happen. And I think that is what makes God so good. Ugh, my goodness. Why?
Okay.
It's a T.
It's a T.
But
it's the cross where Jesus died.
It's
a T.
I am in a very sweet, tender place. I know, barf, with God right now.
No, it's serious.
And,
we're being serious.
And with myself.
Would you believe me if I said I was actually trying?
No.
I really wasn't.
This is when I wish we had the video part. Oh my gosh. But so I'm speaking from, but I am being very genuine, and I feel like I can speak into this because
I feel like I don't want this to happen now.
I know. Oh. Well, it's not.
I feel like I said that I want to know what other people think of me, but then immediately I don't.
I immediately regret this decision. This is not going to go super deep. I'm just saying that I feel like I actually have the personal experience to tell you that this.
Oh, do you?
Oh my gosh. This is
I know, trying to love me is like trying to hurt a cat.
I have just like
Chris is trying to use the force to choke me.
I don't mean to. Whatever, I'm gonna do it anyway. This is like this friendship and like the dynamic we have is just like way more than I could ever have asked or imagined for in this part of my life. Like, I don't know. And this goes in with, you know, not everyone can be everything to you all the time. And I just feel like
you are everything.
You complete me. No, but I think that, I don't know, you get me. You get it, and I just love that it just makes me so happy that it's one of those moments where just endorphin eruption.
I love how I'm talking about how little I know myself and how sad I am, and you're like, I'm just so happy right now.
Just from that look, are you?
Oh,
that is my. I don't know why that makes me feel so loved, but it does. I don't know.
It's someone razzing you a little bit.
It really, yes. It's so good. No. Anyway,
sorry.
So, this is the process. Like, this is what life is. It's this learning something, forgetting it, relearning it, learning that you didn't even know it to begin with.
Exactly.
Relearning it. Like, it's this constant, ever evolving, ever changing thing. And I get very tempted to be daunted by that because I just want to get to the place and be at the place and then just coast there for forever. And it's just like not how it goes. And I think, like Tyler was talking about on Sunday, I don't know if
Tyler is our pastor.
Yeah.
Most of you guys probably go to our church, but we mentioned Tyler, I think, in every episode.
I think we do.
But Tyler's our pastor, and
shout out.
Yeah, go follow Different Church online because he posts all of his sermons.
He does. And
so if you ever want context for what we're talking about,
yeah,
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. But he was talking about how your depth in the water. Did you listen to the?
I haven't listened to it yet. I was out of town on Sunday.
It was really good.
Oh, but you also were and you listened to it.
I did.
You're a good Christian.
No. Oh my gosh, that is not. No. But it's
gonna listen to it.
It's basically like the analogy he used is like, how deep are you going in your relationship with God, paralleled with this illustration of how deep you're standing in a body of water. Mm-hmm. And he was like, throughout your life, you're going to be at different depths, right? Like, you're going to go from...
See, I just always feel like I'm on dry land.
No, you're
not.
What
does that say about me?
You're not. Because you're too critical of yourself.
I'm just so dry and crackly.
No, you're...
But here's the thing. What does it mean to be too critical of yourself if you genuinely are bad?
You're not bad, though.
But how do you know? Because if we're all fall short of the glory of God, we're all bad, then like how do you ever stop being critical of yourself if you feel like, if you can recognize the badness within yourself? Like, I mean, maybe you can cut this in somehow, but I told a story at the beginning of the podcast about when I was 10 years old and was extremely manipulative, and like I can have grace for myself because I'm 10, but like I'm clearly there are evil parts of me that are out to manipulate relationships and get credit for being a good friend and all of these things. And it's like, so how do you just be like, that doesn't matter to me, and then just like not care?
No,
because I care deeply.
Not being.
I don't know if I want to post this because this is getting too real.
I know being not too critical of yourself is not just disregarding the ugly things about yourself or the things that you don't like about yourself. Like, being not critical of yourself does not mean that you just ignore the things that God is sanctifying in you or changing in you. But being too critical of yourself is essentially, if you believe in Jesus, right? If you believe in the sacrifice that he made, then you being too critical and focusing on these bad parts of yourself or these sinful parts of yourself, then you're denying the gift. You're saying that was great what you did, Jesus, but it's not enough to cover this part of me, or it's not enough to take care of this.
But how do you feel like this is enough? Like,
what do you mean?
I don't know. I've just never felt that, like, and maybe it's not an emotional thing at all. So maybe I'm just chasing after the wrong ghost here. But it's like, I've never felt this satisfaction of like, I am forgiven. It's all good.
Well,
like, I feel the constant pressure of like, I will never be good enough.
It's
and like, I am getting in by the skin of my teeth because of God's sacrifice. But I personally will never feel this like wholeness and completion that people talk about. I also, we're going to stop before we talk to this part, but maybe this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. I don't know. No, we're going to cut that out. That's too ambitious. But no, I think maybe we've talked about this before, but this is something I'm thinking a lot about because it's something that has consistently come up in my life is like, the cross does not bring me joy. Like, we just celebrated Easter, which is a big, joyful, pastel-y day, and everyone's super excited about it. And it's always all the joy. He has risen, because he's risen. It's not a bad thing. He's risen. Like, this is great. But like, I don't hate Easter, but I don't feel like happy that Jesus was a man and gave his life to die for me. Like, that concept is very, very painful for me. Like, which is maybe a pride thing. I've been told it's a pride thing, but
why? Not like,
well, just
why
that
do you...
it's like, oh, well, my sins are too hot. Like, which I don't feel that way, but just like, imagine like, people are like, oh, Jesus loves you and he died for you. Like, imagine if your brother or your dad died for you. Like, you were in a scary situation and they gave their life to die a torturous death for you. Like, I wouldn't feel good about that. Like, even if they came back to life, like, I just don't know if that I would ever feel good about that. And so it's just like, it's hard for me to, I don't know, like, work around this day and these feelings that I have, because it's never, like, again, maybe it's just not an emotional thing. Like, maybe it's something that will never reconcile itself in my heart until later. But just like, it's never been something that I just am like, oh, yay. Like, it feels terrible. Like, it feels absolutely bone crushingly terrible.
Yeah.
That if God existed in a human person, Jesus, and was perfect and never knew wrong and died this terrible death because of me, I'm like, I'd rather just go to hell. Like, I'd rather punish myself than have someone die for me. Like, that feels terrible.
But
like, that feels so terrible.
I think that stems from your just like really critical self-view.
So how do I fix that?
Well, because I think
that's all the time we have for today, folks. Some food for thought. Soup for thought.
spiritual soup.
Soup for thought. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye now. No, I think, listen,
I honestly don't know if I want other people in the world knowing about this side of me. But
no, but this is a really important thing, because I feel like I have just and am still walking through this idea.
Yeah, now all of a sudden you're like, let me tell you.
I know,
I'm
it's the
kidding.
Worst.
I am just kidding.
Worst.
You're allowed to do it.
But I have to. Like, I feel so like Tyler right now. Like, I have to. And I know it's so,
It sounds like we're in a cult now, because we're like,
Tyler. No, but I feel very passionate about this, because I'm seriously coming off the heels and like living currently right now the realization of genuinely how much worth God has in me. Like how valuable I am to him. And I
sorry, that's what my mic did something weird, and so I wasn't trying to be like, no.
And it's what really changed it for me. And I'm not saying this would work for anybody else. I'm just speaking from personal experience, is starting to wrap my head around this idea that God, like, I am not here to just do for God. Like, I do not exist on this planet to be something that produces things for God. Like, I am not under his thumb. I am not worthless to him if I'm not doing, quote unquote, what I'm here to do. What I'm here to do is experience the love that he has for me and the relationship that he has for me. And that's kind of hard to do when you're trying to work your way, around everything, which I totally get the temptation and I totally get why we do it. Like, I don't know that it's possible to not at some point fall into that trap of working our way to the cross, but we just we can't do it. And I think what really changed it for me was thinking about God as wanting a partnership with me. He is not looking down on me, commanding me to do this or not do that. He is literally right beside me and with me, and he is literally walking with me step by step saying, I want to do this together. He wants to be there with you as you're figuring out life and figuring out how to step into the fullness of who you are, because that's his true desire for your heart. It's not this production of, hey, I made you so that you could produce this thing and do this thing and be this thing. He purposefully created you and designed you in this really unique and special way in order to partner with you to do good things, yes, but ultimately to just have a relationship with you. And it's when I could start to try to accept that even on my quote unquote best day, that still is nothing. He doesn't see my quote unquote best day and my quote unquote worst day. All he sees is our relationship and how we are engaging and connecting. And that's it, and of course there's so much more. And I think there are so many questions and so many things, in scripture. And as we grow in our relationship, I think he does teach us new things and all that stuff. But at the very base, how you are viewing your relationship with God is it something that is this obligatory, I really want this gift, but I have to earn it. And I know I never will, but what do? I just have to keep grinding myself and being critical of myself. And I have to punish myself because you won't do it. He won't do it. He started to help me recognize, I have so much more for you, and I want so much good for you, and I want to do it together. It's hard to explain, but I have found, since trying to grasp onto that idea and seeing things through that lens, I have noticed I am way less critical of myself, and I am way less critical of the people around me. There's just room for things now, and there's room for people to have negative emotions, and there's room for me to be confused, and there's room for me to not do a bunch one day because it's it's these mundane things of life. There's room, and there's room for not a lot of heightened emotion. There's room for me to just not feel much of anything. And underneath it all, there's so much security in everything, because I know God is a partner with me in this life. He's not looking down on me, expecting all these things of me. He is with me, beside me, encouraging me, changing me, challenging me, all the things. But he's right there, just hanging out. And he's not pressed for time. he's not looking at me like, what are you doing? Why aren't you moving fast enough? And I think that's a normal part of partnerships too, is this tension and this conflict of, I have a lot of questions that I don't know how to answer them, and I have a lot of doubts, and I have a lot of hurts, and I have a lot of, unresolved negative feelings that are just take a while to work through. But then it, inevitably gets resolved, and then it comes out stronger, and there's new growth, and there's new life, and then you turn around and do it all again. And that's all God wants. Like, he just wants you to stay in the water with him, whatever that looks like. And I think that's what you're doing when you're asking these questions, or you're even just like, I think a lot of people wouldn't even admit that like, oh, Easter doesn't make me happy, or I don't feel like this actually grieves me, and this makes me sad, and makes me feel like a burden that he would do this for me. Or like, and I think framing it in the way of like, if this was someone you knew, like your dad or your brother or your mother, like who, like that really puts it in perspective for me. Cause yeah, I would be so mad at him. I would be like, no, why would you die for me? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But I think even in this, in this season right now, like, I think even you can see the thankfulness that will inevitably come. Mm-hmm. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to take your time to get there. Like, he's not.
Thanks.
Yes. I know. I'm so sorry. I said I wasn't going to go deep, and then I just like totally.
No, that was amazing. That was like,
your guts.
The like at the ends of movies where it's like the best friend is like, but you got to go to the game anyway, man. We're all counting on you. And it's like the big like emotional speech. I feel like that was that.
Oh, good. I'm glad. I wasn't sure how you were receiving it because I was
glazed as a donut. I don't know how much of that sunk in at all, but it was good.
I know, and we
have it on record, so I can listen to it again later. Well, I bought some Tim Tams. If you don't know what Tim Tams are,
does anyone else know what those are?
I have no idea. Do you know what a Tim Tam is? Write in and let us know.
DM us.
DM us. But I think they're Australian. I think they're an Australian cookie. But I love them. They are my absolute like favorite cookie. They're just my favorite. I love them so much.
Okay.
And they're really hard to find, or at least they were. I think they're getting easier to find.
Oh.
You can find them in the international food section of some Publixes, I've noticed.
Yeah.
So, also World Market has them. What? Anyway, we're going to try some.
I was going to throw a Dingo Babies in there.
Dingo Babies. So Chris has never had one. And they're probably going to be very underwhelming, but these are very good.
I'm
so
really
I got
excited.
Original. They had caramel there, and I didn't get any, and now I'm regretting that decision. But okay. I didn't want to have tons of cookies in my house. But
I get that.
I only got 2 sleeves. But so there's original Tim Tams, which are just like milk chocolate. Mm-hmm. And then I got a kind that I had never tried before. Which are extra chocolatey, I think is just like double stuffed kind of idea. But it makes me laugh because up in the corner it says there is no substitute. And I agree. There is no substitute for Tim Tams. So I'm going to open these up and we're going to try them.
Yeah.
Well, I've had one of these before, but.
Okay. Oh, sweet. Yeah. So it'll be both our first times
for the extra chocolatey.
Do you think our wheezing could be ASMR? Okay. Oh, also, I just thought of this, but shout out to Annie if you're listening. She is like probably our #1 fan right now.
I love Annie.
We just love you. She usually texts us like a very specific reference to the episode after she listens. And
what if she just like clicks and drops to a random part and then like texts us?
Oh my gosh.
The one part where you said this.
Yeah. It was so funny.
Anyway.
Okay.
All right,
we
love
you.
These.
Okay. Oh, that's nasty. Not the cookie. Ooh. There's a similar cookie I've had before, like this.
But there is no substitute.
There is no substitute.
So this is going to be the same but more, I'm assuming. Well, they feel thick.
Oh my gosh.
Thick with two
thick.
C's.
What's the verdict on the double?
It's the same. But more. So those are Tim Tams. What do you give them out of 10?
I'll say a 5.
Man,
I know.
I was really hoping you'd like them more. But, all right, more for me.
They're a very enjoyable cookie, but I don't know that I would think to myself at a future point in time, oh man, I really want some Tim Tams. But if I saw it, I would probably want it, you know?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They're pretty good.
Wow.
This has been
good soup. We'll catch you all next time.
Bye.